This is Actualize Freedom, straight talk on growing clicks and conversions on Amazon FBA from people doing it every day. Now here's your host, digital marketing acrobat, Danny Kenji Carlson.
What's up, guys? Danny Carlson here with the Actualize Freedom podcast, and hopefully the internet works out for us all right today. I'm over on Sumbawa Island, which is a couple islands over from Bali, and for those of you watching on video, you can see the palm trees and the beach over there, literally in the background, about 100 meters behind me. So we're going to keep this one good, and hopefully the internet holds out for us. We have Mr. Scott, and he is an expert when it comes to coupons and a whole bunch of stuff. So I think that's a great place to start, since a lot of Amazon sellers, they're wondering, how can we use coupons to really maximize their sales on Amazon? It's one of those tools that a lot of people don't know if they should be using or really how to use them. So what's your experience with Amazon coupons?
So I think it's been around for maybe about a year and a half, the coupons. But like this year, I actually had just a phone call with an Amazon employee, and he told me a few different ways why Amazon coupons are a different marketing tool that should be considered. Thinking about sponsored products. That's what most of the conversation around marketing is around. It's in sponsored products. They increase your discoverability. People find your products because you're paying for those clicks. But what coupons does is actually very different. It's once people have found your product, whether organically or through advertising, they're going to see different things, and they're going to see a badge. And it's really, don't underestimate the power of a badge like that. It captures your eye. You know, it's actually a pattern interrupt. If you're scrolling through on your phone, and like in the 1 inch space, there's a green little badge. Like, we pay attention to that. And so they increase click-through rates. Like, that's something like sponsored products doesn't increase the likelihood of people clicking on it. It just affects its placement. And then additionally, coupons increases conversion, because when people are on your page, they feel that value add of, like, they actually have to click on the coupon. If you've ever ran one before, you actually, even if you're on your phone, you have to tap again to apply the coupon. And the act of doing that, I actually think leads people towards converting on a product. And it's this perceived value add that we tell people about. When you get a great deal on a t-shirt or on whatever, you tell people, yeah, I got this half off. And the thing is like, on Amazon, we fluctuate prices all the time. We don't tell the customers. This is a way to fluctuate your price and also tell them you're getting a better deal than normal. So that's why, like, it increases. It's a benefit on both a click through and a conversion, and like, those are huge. You know, then an additional benefit on top of that is sometimes people click and they think they're getting the coupon, but they don't even. They feel like they're getting it, but they don't even click on that button to apply the coupon, and so your return on, like, if you consider this like ad spend, your return will actually be a little bit more efficient, because only about half the people, you know, in my, you know, we've read lots of coupons in my studies. We've seen only half of them actually apply the coupon and end up getting that benefit.
That's a really interesting point there, because a lot of people, they see the badge and you get the effects of the badge, but they're not actually taking the extra $2 off or whatever it is from the coupon, right? So you're getting that benefit no matter what. And for that reason, do you recommend that you use coupons on every single product? Like, is it just something that you should be using in some capacity, or what is your opinion on that?
So it's hard to find a downside outside of the fact that you're giving up margin. I think in every aspect of the conversion and, click through, I think there's a benefit on all of that, except for you're giving up margin. And I have been told, but I have not experienced this, that you can't just raise the price of the product $5 and then have a $5 coupon. They say that has to be the cheapest price within the last 30 days. I actually haven't seen that in effect. So I do think that you could raise the price $5 and throw a $5 coupon on it. And I would love to see someone like do that test with a product and see its overall benefits. Of course, if you lose the buy box, that means you've priced too high, and you don't want to do that. But I don't see a downside other than like its obvious margin impacts, because these coupons, you're either doing a % off or you're doing a dollar amount off. There's a minimum of 5%. So like if you have a $20 product, you have to do at least a $1 coupon. And all I see is upside. And so for we've done it in two different ways. We apply coupons, on trying to grow a product, and we've also done coupons with our stale inventory. We just like do a blanket like minimum coupon on all of our stale inventory, and which is actually like hundreds of ASINs, and I threw a minimum coupon on all of those. And we saw that inventory, it just about double in sales. So it was our way of just like pushing stale inventory through. And, but of course, like that's that's just one use case for it. I think most people want to be thinking about how they can use that for building a product. If you are converting a higher percentage, absolutely, that will increase its, organic visibility.
Yeah. And is there a certain dollar amount or percentage that you think is the most effective? Like, obviously, the more discount you're giving, the more effective it's going to be. But I'm wondering, in your tests, what have you seen to be the recommended amount where you're not just giving up too much margin?
Sure. The Amazon employee that I talked to, his research said that a fixed dollar amount was more effective than a percentage. But I've also heard someone say differently, that they actually felt that they studied that the higher the number, the better. So like if you're doing a $1 off, that's less than say 20%. When people see that too, they do that more. I lean slightly towards the dollar amounts because people don't want to have to do math. If it's a $25 product and you're giving them 15% off, they don't know exactly what that is. I would have to do math on that. But if you tell them $3 off, they know it, and that goes straight to what they feel that they're getting off. I mean, sorry, what they feel that the value add is there. And so I lean towards the dollar amount, and then it's as much as you feel like is going to move the needle. If it's $1 off of a $25 product, that's not too much. But if you're able to do $5 off, I think that's a big number to hit. If you have the margin to play with on your product, I think if you got up to $5, you're hitting sometimes I think of prices in price bands. $1 and $2 are almost the same like discount, but once you hit like $5, you're all of a sudden it's a different perceived value. Like this is a lot. It's a significant amount of money.
Yeah, people can visualize what they can buy for $5, right? Like everyone knows, like, hey, that $5 will get me that Frappuccino at on my Friday at Starbucks or whatever it is, or it's going to get me something, right? And whereas 15% off, I can say for myself that whenever I see a 15% off promotion, unless it's something that is like many hundreds or over $1,000, I'm not really going to care very much. Like in my brain, it just is 15% is not a large amount. But conversely, $1,000 product and you get $150 off, to me is like, oh, $150. Yeah. That sounds pretty appealing, right? You can put $150 in my pocket. 15% doesn't sound like anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a $1, I would do a $1 if I'm just like going for the bare minimum. Like, you want that badge. $2 or $3 is you get that badge, and also there is a more of a feeling of like this is a deal. And then $5 is like, okay, we're talking real money. We're talking that frappuccino or even a sandwich kind of benefit.
Heck yeah. Over here in Bali, you could live off of $5 for your food for the entire day. So that maybe you guys should be considering moving to Bali. And another thing that I know that kind of ties into this that you have really good opinions on is profitability. So, I mean, obviously you want your promotions and everything to ultimately be profitable, but what are some of the ways that you ensure that you are selling profitably? If you're doing coupons and other kind of promotions and all these other costs, you have to be tracking this pretty accurately just to make sure you're really moving the needle and making money, or else maybe you're losing money on every product you're selling, right? So what are some of the things that you do to ensure profitability?
I've been selling professionally for 7 years and involved even longer, and I am still I know this year have spent a lot of time around this subject, trying to get our numbers, because this is actually really funny. I just saw this Reddit post, and it said like, you can talk to yourself 10 years prior. If I would have talked to myself in 2009 and today for 1 minute, what would I say? And one of the things, like literally one of the first things that came across my mind is, when you start selling on Amazon, get your accounting, get your books in order faster. Don't stop. And that's just because I think we've operated in kind of a gray area. Like, I could know my FBA fees for a single transaction, and I could like add up all these different things. But holistically, it was actually impossible for us to say in 2015, in January 2015, did we make money that month? Or if so, how much? So, I've talked to a lot of other large sellers out there, and like many people go through like their third or fourth accountant. This is not easy accounting. I don't know. I'm not trying to like scare people away, more than like motivate them to get like full clarity of any like credits and debits that hit your what you're getting dispersed. Just know the ins and the outs. And there's some obvious ones that people miss. I think the most obvious ones are the storage fees. That monthly storage fee, what does that mean for your bottom line? You actually really need to have a handle on that when it comes to Q4. Right now it's October, and all of a sudden our storage fees go up about 3.5 times. And we are paying about $100,000 in storage fees, just monthly storage fees. And like, what's important is like, not only do you model that, but you model your pricing knowing those costs. You're like, okay, this is our break even. This is including, how much it costs us to bag the product, to label it, to bubble wrap it. That we have all our prep and shipping costs included in that. And then here's another one that I missed for years. Like, honestly, did not know the full impact of it, is refunds. I was using the returned items report, the returned FBA items, and I thought that was kind of the refund percentage. But I didn't realize that report only shows the products for which people that issued a refund, and also shipped it back to Amazon. There's a whole group of refunds in which they don't ship it back to Amazon, or they don't even have to. And so like, I didn't really know the correct refund percentage on an ASIN by ASIN basis until I started building it out of the payments report. And they've created this new monthly payments report, and it doesn't hurt to know what every line is, like why, what's going on, what's your FBA fees? Are you modeling that correctly? What are the different returns or refunds that occur? What are those different costs? Because they may vary, like whereas apparel, a lot of times you are paying the return shipping fee. And
specifically on apparel.
Yes, there are more reasons. It actually varies by the reason that the customer says they're returning the product. If they say they no longer want it, then they pay the return shipping. But if they say the item is defective, then you pay the return shipping, and there's nothing you could do about that in FBA. And there are some scenarios where Amazon will reimburse you for this. There are some scenarios that they don't. And I don't necessarily think you need to fight every single issue, because you can't stop people from returning for certain conditions. But more or less just know how it's affecting your bottom line, add those all up. We have a sports bra, and it has a 20% return rate. This product is actually very profitable for us.
Wow.
But think about it. This is apparel where fit matters so much. And we had no idea. We were operating for a year on this line and didn't know that our refunds were up to 20%. The good news is we have really good margins with this, and they generally come back in sellable condition. Whether Amazon deems it sellable or if it gets returned to us and we're able to repackage it, that's kind of, you just want to know. I'm not advocating, this one is the most important, but that don't take shortcuts around this, because all your ducks are going to have to get in the row. If you're going to be like us, you're going to end up paying too much taxes. And then that gets even more expensive when you have to when you amend your taxes and you're saying actually we, instead of making this much, we made this much. And it's kind of one of those things that as a business owner, you want to get on top of it sooner rather than later, because it's going to help you make better decisions.
This podcast is brought to you by Kenji ROI, a complete done-for-you service for your Amazon listing creation and optimization. Everything from product photography, including lifestyle images with a real model, graphic design images and studio images, to the copywriting and keyword optimization, to videos and enhanced brand content if you're lucky enough to have brand registry. We also manage marketing when it comes to Amazon ads, and also for some bigger sellers out there who might be interested in building a messenger list, we offer services creating the ManyChat funnels to follow up with customers for more reviews, to help build your own audience so you can launch new products, to help rank for new keywords, and there is Facebook ads management built into that as well for the right sellers. So if you want to learn more about Kenji ROI, head to KenjiROI.com. That is actually my middle name, Kenji, with the ROI added onto the end. And it's a nightmare just to fix it too. My first 2 years in business, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't go to business school or any of this stuff, and all I saw was the price tag for a bookkeeper is $400 a month. I'll just do this myself. How hard can it be, right? Turns out very hard. It's very, very complicated, and the amount of time and money that I put into fixing everything was absolutely not worth saving the $400 a month for a bookkeeper. Just doing it right from the beginning would have been vastly, vastly a better decision. And another complication that a lot of people don't really think about is the lag times between putting down money for shipments, for paying your manufacturers, the shipping and all that kind of stuff, and then selling the inventory and then actually getting paid for that is a pretty big lag time. So if you're not accounting for that month to month, your profitability is just not going to look accurate at all, right? It looks like you're going to lose money some months, and then some months you just crushed it and made a ton of money. So can you speak a little bit to that, the importance of factoring for that?
Yeah, actually what you're describing is one of the offensive advantages. Like if you think about accounting, like, where you can start to make strategic decisions because of your cash flow. So I am not the accountant, but I am the one that like touches our seller accounts. And so I'm building all these reports to give to our cash flow modeler. So we know, okay, on right now, it's Q4. I want to know how much, if say we assume the same sales trajectory that we're at right now, what's my cash position going to be at December 1st? And if you don't know an answer to that question, then it's going to limit the types of decisions that you can make. And so as you, like say, depending on how you like to pay for things, whether it's credit card or you have terms with suppliers, if you're able to model those with the dates and how much is coming in your account, it's a model. And when you do that, it's going to help you make decisions and start to realize what you can invest in and what you don't invest in. We actually are like leaning into credit cards as much as possible. We probably put let me think. Sorry, probably about $3 or $4 million on credit cards. Actually, probably more, but we lean in really heavily on credit cards because we're able to get 2% cash back. But like credit cards, they also give you some sort of 30-day credit window, and if you're able to model that at the end of the year, that can mean a fair amount of extra money on top of what you're earning.
Yeah, I wish we could have access to credit cards like that. As Canadians, you Americans have all of the good ones with all the good points and cashback terms and everything like that. But even for Canadians, there's still something that is good there. And one really interesting thing about you is you have a software background. So you think in terms of automating businesses, in terms of how can I create a software tool that is going to help me automate this thing, which I think is a really big advantage in the e-commerce space. So tell me, what do you, as someone who creates software, how do you approach these problems of automation? Like how do you decide whether this is something you want to hire someone for, or you're going to create a tool for and approach that whole problem?
There's a lot of options that people have, and it could depend on their background. Say you're good with spreadsheets, but like you're not that interested in really going deep into development. You can use a tool like Zapier, which does a lot of, it'll do automation between, say, like you actually can build coupons through Zapier. It'll take information from a spreadsheet, and then you can automate certain clicks and certain actions to happen through a tool like that, where you're not like into code. Zapier isn't controlled that way. It has its own control mechanisms, and that's probably a unique way to automate an Amazon style business. But once, say you get bigger, then you're going to need some tools. There's a lot. I mean, when I started in 2012, the tools that are out there in the marketplace weren't there. Like there was no Skubana, there was no Jungle Scout, there was no Helium 10. And in some ways, that is what gave our business an advantage. But at the same, it was just necessity. Like I had to build these things. And so if I were to start again, I wouldn't be, building from scratch everything. But I do develop, that's my day job is just I'm in code. And so many of the tools that are out there, like I've either tried to build it or I have built it. And it just kind of comes down to like, to answer your question, what are your challenges? If it's costing you a significant amount of money, you could hire a developer and, have a custom solution that's exactly what you want. That's the advantage of going custom, is you're going to get what you want. It's going to solve the exact problem. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people with their software needs, they want 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they can only find a tool that does like 2 of those 4 features.
Story of my life.
And then they're going to find another tool to fill in the those others. And I mean, if you're when you're growing, and if you see like your scale of where you're going to be in a year, is it worth this investment to hire a freelancer or whatever and outline exactly what you want? There are some complicated tasks that might be a $30,000-$40,000 implementation. But then again, many of them might be much smaller, and then there's everywhere in between. Here's a company that does interesting things. They actually just focus on Zapier-like solutions. They're called dataautomation.com, and they're definitely much more affordable. I am only recommending them just to open your eyes of how this type of automation can influence being like a seller on Amazon. We actually all have similar problems, where we're trying to make sure our Amazon account, we have to log in on Seller Central and like see reports and like make sure everything's in its right place. Click certain buttons on the right days, like whether it's requesting your disbursement or aligning your merchant fulfilled orders with your 3PL, and in a lot of ways, like this company, they focus on solutions from that mindset, and they implement Zapier things. I myself have also have seen what other people do. I don't know if this is too much of a detour. No, it's not really. But like, for example, you're owed reimbursements. A lot of sellers are owed reimbursements for damaged inventory. If Amazon charged FBA fees incorrectly, because sometimes they'll remeasure your product and it's incorrect, and then they'll measure it again, and then they go back. And so like for a while, maybe you did 200 orders and the FBA fee was $1 high. There are services out there that do this audit process, and they weren't working for our accounts because of how many different products that we carry. And so I had to get in and just like probably spent 2 or 3 months and develop a solution that was working, and like where I could automate and see, download all these different reports and see where Amazon hasn't reimbursed us yet.
Yeah, it's such a valuable thing, and I can't tell you how many times I've been searching for a specific software tool for, the agency or Amazon or something like this, and just can never find the perfect tool that does everything that I want. And I try to hack things together with a tool like Zapier to integrate everything together, but it's never quite perfect, right? And I've always wondered what it would be like if I did have the skill set of software, or was partnered with someone who had that skill set, just how much easier the process of setting up the business the way you want would be. So I am a little bit jealous of that, and I actually ran into a very interesting gentleman here in Bali. He's a successful serial entrepreneur. He sold 3 businesses, I believe, at this point, and he just recently spent the last year and a half teaching himself how to code, specifically so that he could get the first version of a software product out there to test the market and then launch a SaaS product. But I think that really speaks to the value of that skill set. If someone who has sold 3 businesses already is willing to dedicate a year and a half of his time to learning how to code to create software, I think that just speaks for itself.
Yeah, if I were to motivate people in that regards, like what you were just saying, I'm not one of those software developers that like loves to spend my nights and weekends doing this. I only jump into software to solve problems. And if you have like a specific solution, and you like let that motivate you to learn, so that like you're like, okay, I've got this one Excel spreadsheet, I need to jump into it, pull this, and then push it over here. And let that one specific task motivate you to, to spend a week or two learning some of the basics until you can do that task.
Yeah, absolutely love that. And can you give the audience a couple examples? Let's say that they're very basic with their automations. They don't have any coding background. What are some really low-hanging fruit that they could set up with a tool like Zapier, for example, that, it's all drag and drop. It doesn't require you to type in any code, but you can still set up some kind of automation for an Amazon business. Do you have some examples?
Shoot. I mean, if it just depends what you're doing at scale. If you find yourself, clicking or typing something out 20, 30, 50 times a day, this is exactly the type of tool. If you're a sizable business, you're getting a fair amount of feedback, seller feedback. You can jump in, and if it's FBA, Amazon will actually remove them if you request it. So you could have a solution that clicks through and says like request a feedback removal, and then you don't have to check it again. I think. Let's see. I mean, I was about to describe one scenario, but I'm like, I think there are other tools that actually can solve this. But I was going to imagine.
Just like an example, yeah, just so people can kind of visualize.
The first thing that I did when I jumped into Amazon is actually just download the orders report and start configuring that. Just your regular orders of being like, okay, I want to count how many I'm selling of this. At what speed am I selling this? And can I crunch some numbers to predict a forecast? Can I be like, okay, I've been in stock for 10 days and I've had 20 sales. That means for October, I'm going to need 60 units, or maybe it's Q4, so I'm gonna do a multiple and I'm gonna do 90 units. That was the first thing that I did, and then also, and then I was just tracking profitability. Those are like some like basic, like it actually can tie back into the accounting that we were talking about a little bit earlier. Is you should be using automation to get more confidence in your accounting, so that like you're not counting every single transaction every day, that you're aggregating these certain costs in a solution that scales and that's like repeatable.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense, especially when it comes to the numbers, automating those kind of things, because that's so much data entry that data entry not only is very time consuming and brain numbing, but also opens you up for a lot of errors, right? You miss one line item that accounted for 10% of your entire calculation, and your calculation's screwed, right? So definitely want to reiterate the importance of that. Well, and I do have, before we wrap things up here, one tool that has been really great for, it's not necessarily an automation, but it's called Phrase Express. And it's a compository of a bunch of phrases that maybe your customer service would be typing to people, or just like full email templates and everything. And your entire team can download this and use the same database of these templates. And all they have to do on their computer is press like Alt Space and then just choose whichever template is there. So that's good if they're responding to people on Amazon's platform, through Facebook Messenger, through like email, like wherever they're communicating, they can get all these templates out to whoever is there. So that's a really good, there's no reason why everyone here can't set that one up. Really good tool. It's called Phrase Express. And awesome, Scott. It's been great having you on here. Lots of good insights when it comes to coupons, profitability, and automation for people who want to just get a better handle on their business and better insight. So tell people, if they wanted to reach out to you online or learn more about what you're doing, where's the best place for them to do so?
Well, so most people actually interact with me on Instagram. My handle is @smartestseller. And, sometimes I'm posting education. I talk FBA a lot, and sometimes it's funny and silly. Sometimes it's like actual information. had a lot of really good interactions with people. I learn a lot from other sellers there. Let's see. So that reimbursement service that I talked about, it's called Valence Services. I'm always happy to talk about that if people are have questions around that. And those are mainly the two places that I talk. I have actually really appreciated listening to your podcast. I listened to your more recent episode of Liren, and there's a lot of really good stuff there. I've also been podcasting this year. My podcast is the most humble name I could find. It's the smartest Amazon seller, and it's been great. And I could your show has really done really well, and I could tell it has really good quality. So really impressed, and I'm hoping to learn more from you. Your site, Kenji, is it Kenji ROI?
Yeah.
Yeah, those emails are they're spot on. Some good advice right there.
Awesome, guys. Yeah, if you haven't joined my email list, get on there. What are you waiting for? I got lots of good emails to send you guys, lots of good content, and I also send out all the Actualize Freedom podcast episodes there as well. And as a good reminder, too, if you haven't left a review for the podcast and you think this kind of stuff is awesome, you think Scott has provided a bunch of value here, then I would really appreciate a 5-star review. And just make sure that it's 5 stars, or else I'm going to have my feelings really badly hurt. So, we can't be having that, guys. So if you guys want the show notes, check them out at actualizefreedom.com, and we'll have links to everything Scott mentioned there. If you want to reach out to him, definitely follow him on Instagram at smartestseller. And until next time, take care. This podcast is sponsored by the Helium 10 suite of tools, and we at Kenji ROI have been using Helium 10 for more than 3 years now. They have so many tools packed into one, I don't think that there's a better value, and we use it all the time for ourselves and our clients, so we can actually recommend it from real experience. We use their keyword tracker to see how our product launches are doing, the keyword indexing tool to ensure that you're actually showing up for your main keywords. Super, super important step right there. And also Magnet and Cerebro, a really powerful combination for finding keywords your competitors are using, or just finding new keywords to put into your listing in general. You should be using this on at least a monthly basis to see if any new keywords are coming up, because new searches are coming up all the time, guys. Like, people are searching on Google. I forget the number, but a huge percentage of those searches are brand new, never been done searches. So if you guys want a discount code, you can use 50 Kenji ROI for 50% off your first month of Helium 10, or 10 Kenji ROI for 10% off for life. So that's a pretty good discount. You might as well. We use them and recommend them for years. So if you guys need that, you guys will definitely get good value out of Helium 10.
For show notes and resources mentioned in this episode, visit kenjiroi.com.